Yu-Gi-Oh! Has a rich history of Jank decks, but in this series on the channel, we will be asking ourselves a brand new question. What is the future of Jank? Jank decks are decks with interesting synergies and combos that lack a little bit of that competitive relevance. So, are you ready to be a part of the future? The future of Jank. Hey guys, and welcome to the battle phase, and also welcome to the new series on the channel The Future of Jank, where we are basically going to be showcasing some very interesting decks with unique synergies that don't quite make the fit for the main channel. So instead of making a two-part, like we usually do with a deck profile and a combo drill, we're gonna actually be showcasing the combos and the deck all in one episode. So the first one on the schedule is the ROKKET KOZMO variant, the one in front of us right now, which is a Kozmo combo deck utilizing mostly rockets and a little bit of the D-Link core as well. So because we have so much to cover today, we're just going to jump in to the deck profile first, then we're going to show the combo as well. Yeah, so the core of the deck is the 3 copies of Rocket Tracer. Now, why are we doing the 3 copies of Rocket Tracer is because this is actually a starter for this deck. Usually in Dragon Link decks, this is just going to be a part of engine, but here this is actually a starter. You need to open a Rocket Tracer in order to actually make your main combo, as you will see. That does, unfortunately, also mean that most of the combo you are going to be dark locked from the extra deck, okay? You're going to start with this by basically popping a Kozmo Town if you have it on the field and then going into your plays. The rocket you're going to summon off of this is the main card that makes this deck work, and that is 2 copies of Rocket Caliber. This is the reason why Cosmos and Rockets are tying together so well, because you can tribute this card from the field and special summon from your hand a Dark Machine. Basically, that will be Dark Destroyer. So you can already see the outline of the combo, right? Tracer is going to get you Caliber. Caliber is going to get you Kozmo Dark Destroyer from your hand to the field, from where you will be able to go full combo and pop Dark Destroyer multiple times in order to get your advantage. So this is the main rocket count. We do want to special summon this from the deck with the Rocket Tracer's effect. That's why we played 2 copies. And also, this is an extender, you might know. You can always special summon this from your hand to a zone a Dark Link points to, so even opening this is just an extra extender, right? It's not that bad. To round up our rocket count, we do play the 1 copy of Absolute Dragon because Rocket Tracer is just so important for the deck. We do have Absolute that just opens up so many ways to search Rocket Tracer from the main deck. The rest of the dragon part of the deck is 1 Light Dragon and 1 Dark Dragon. These are basically your best dragon extenders, right? And just opening this in addition to your main combo will just add an endboard piece by itself. So this is our dragon core, a pretty small and compact core because we have a lot of things to go through. Continuing on is the reminder of the rocket core, that is triple quick launch. This is a way to get your Rocket Tracer straight from the deck to the field. Can serve as a starter, because don't forget, Rocket Tracer is a starter in this deck. I can't stress this enough. But this can also act as an extender, right? You get stopped, it just puts a dragon from the deck to the field, which also like opens up your plays. So quick launch, definitely a big one. And also the Dragon Ravine, right? The Dragon Ravine is cool because it's a field spell, so it's highly searchable, and you can use it in order to discard a card. That is a bit of a minus, in order to send the Absolute Dragon to the graveyard and then add Rocket Tracer through that way, right? So, but only 1 Dragon Ravine because it's highly searchable, and we're not really going through Romulus in our main line because sadly we are dark locked with Tracer. But we do have to play Dragon Ravine because it is a field spell and is highly accessible that way as well. And it has also multiple other uses. Moving on is our Kozmo package. So this is a combo deck that features Kozmo, not a control deck. So we are playing 3 copies of Kozmo Town. Okay, this is probably the most important Kozmo card in the deck. Again, very important part is that it is a field spell, right? So there is multiple ways to search this. Your main line of play is that your Rocket Tracer here is going to pop your Kozmo Town, and you're gonna get your plays through other ways. The second Kozmo and the Kozmo that the Kozmo Town searches is our main playmaker here, and that is 3 copies of Kozmo Dark Destroyer. Now, Opening Kozmo Dark Destroyer is also full combo, so you either wanna have Kozmo Town or Dark Destroyer, right? Kozmo Town is just that more searchable because it's a field spell. But this is our main Kozmo playmakers, right? These are the ones we want to open, but we also have to play some pilots in order to summon off of Dark Destroyer's effects, and those are gonna be 2 copies of Kozmo Strawman, 2 copies of Kozmo Sword Trooper, and the 1 copy of Kozmo Dark Lady. This is our full Kozmo setup. You really don't want to open the pilots in this deck, right? The main point is that you're going to be special summoning and the Strawman and the Sword Troopers from your deck by the effect of a Dark Destroyer when he gets popped, right? But we're playing 2 of each because you need to summon them from deck. If you open 1 Strawman, for instance, the combo would be dead if you wouldn't have another one in the deck. So that way, and then the Dark Lady is just going to be a piece of the end board, because Strawman is going to summon back the Dark Destroyer, which gets destroyed during the end phase, and then can summon Dark Lady, which will act as an effect negate for our opponent. But this basically is our Kozmo setup. Also, why Kozmo Town is really good is because not only will search your Dark Destroyer, but will also be able to unbreak your hand, basically, because you will be able to put Kozmo cards that are stuck in your hand back to the deck and draw. So it unbreaks your hands as well as it is a playmaker. So that is our small, pretty hefty combo engine. And because Kozmo engine, and because you can already see here are multiple bricks that you don't want to see, this is a 48 card deck. I'm going to say it already because there is multiple ways to get to our starters. We do want to play more than 40 in order to minimize our break chances. Moving on is the, I think, most important part of the deck, and that is the triple copy of Foolish Burial Goods. So this is our main field spell searcher. At this point, I can also mention the 1 copy of Terraforming and the 1 copy of Set Rotation. But these are our field spell searchers. And why would our field spell searchers be this good? Is because both of the cards we need for the combo, so we need the Rocket Tracer and we need the Kozmo Dark Destroyer or Kozmo Town, are field spells. So basically, you can either search Kozmo Town that gets you to your Kozmo portion of the deck, or you can search the Dragon Ravine, which gets you to your Rocket Tracer portion of the deck. So these are basically filling in for any part that you're missing in your opening hand. And that's why they're so good. And that's why it's also worth playing the bricks for the Foolish Burial Goods. And especially because we play that multiple field spells, don't forget the Boot Sector Launch, we'll get to that later, Set Rotation is also a viable option in this deck as well. But these just are really useful in getting to your starters in the deck. Moving on, like I mentioned, the Boot Sector Launch, Striker Dragon, plays, and so on. Not really that important, but it is another field spell. And now we come to another part of the deck, and that is 3 copies of Dragon Shrine. Now, mostly you would say, okay, Dragon Shrine is only here for one reason, right? And it is, again, to get you to your starters, because what are you going to do? Well, you're going to activate it, you're going to send the Absol Dragon. It's better than Dragon Ravine because you don't have to discard a card from your hand. The Absol Dragon is then going to search your Rocket Tracer, and there is your starter, right? That is true. However, there is an even better use that really comes up when you're actually playing the deck, and that is it can also send this card, which is Borreload Riot Dragon, right? And it's a ritual. It's a card we're never going to summon. Obviously, we don't even play the ritual spell, but it has a very interesting effect, right? Because what it does is when it's sent to the graveyard, right, you can pop a card from your field or hand in order to add back a Rocket or Borrel card from your graveyard. So what does this mean? It's very important. It's from the hand as well. So let's say you do have a Kozmo Town on the field. It can pop that. You do have a Dark Destroyer in your hand. It can pop that and and you can continue your plays. So not only does Dragon Shrine search you a starter, it also can help you push through interruptions because your Tracer gets negated. Well, then you use Shrine, you pop maybe that Dark Destroyer you have in hand, and you can continue playing. So it's just so good. And why it's also good is, worst case scenario, you then add himself back to the hand in order to, either have some discord fodder or so on. But if just a little part of your combo resolved, well, then you're going to have Rocket Caliber in your graveyard, which you can add back and then use its extender effect to special summon it. Or you can get back your Rocket Tracer and summon it with Boot Sector Launch. So just so many ways this ties so nicely into the deck. So that's why this is very good to have in your deck as a one-off. And that's why we also play the Foolish Burial. That's the same reason, right? Yes, it does send your Absol to the graveyard, but it also can send your Riot to the graveyard. So that's why I think this part is really nice. Moving on, it is the one-off power spells. We have one Pot of Prosperity and one Chaos Space. A lot of our deck is light and dark, so Chaos Space is really good on that point. And we have Pot of Prosperity, which obviously can, again, search us any card we need. So these two are just, you know, pretty much mandatory to play. At this point, I would like to talk a little bit about consistency. As I said, for the combo that you're going to see very soon, you are going to need a Rocket Tracer or some way to get to it, and Kozmo Town or some way to get to it, or Kozmo Dark Destroyer. And since it is a 48 card deck, we still run 17 ways to get to Tracer, which is pretty insane. That's 9% chance to get to it. And also for the Cosmos, we still, with the Field Spell Searchers, have 12 ways to get there, which is still 78% chance to open a Cosmo. And don't forget, that is in a 48 card deck, not a 40 deck. Okay, continuing on, we have some more power spells that we absolutely have to play. Since we are a borderline jank deck, we have to play hand trap protection because hand traps absolutely own us. And that is the obvious, right? Not really surprised. 3 copies of Crosshair Designator and the 1 copy of Called by the Grave. These are our hand trap measures. Though we have some way to play through some mild interruptions, this is basically the way we have to deal with it, right? There is no other way. So that is for our power spells, absolutely necessary. I could have gone with this because, as you saw, Rocket Tracer has a 90% chance to open, right? That's a lot. So we could have gone over 48, but I still really wanted to see these power spells as much as possible, so that's why we stuck below 50. Continuing on, we have our bricks, and some interesting cards here as well. One of them is the Raid Raptor Glorious Bright. This is a part of our end board. I'm going to explain more in the extra deck, but it is going to be a trap that will offer us some Omni negation. Then we also play the Rainbow Bridge and the Pegasus. These two are for Foolish Burial Goods in order to be useful. But again, these are 3 pretty not nice bricks. But as I said, that's why it's a 48 card deck, so we can afford to play these bricks as much as possible, right? Then we come to the hand trap portion. Obviously, these are the one-offs because we do play the crossouts. And the selection I've made is 1 Infinite Impermanence, 1 Nibiru, because it's a combo deck, 1 Ogre, 1 Veiler, and 1 Ash. That's it. Now, at this point, this is obviously fully open flag spots, right? At this point, you can play the Mulch Armies. You can play whichever other hand trap you wish. You can cut the hand traps entirely, which I wouldn't recommend because of crossout, and you can play defensive cards, going second cards, whatever you wish. There is also so much space for more hand traps if you wish to play them, right? We said we are on 48 cards, right? The consistencies are very high. You can cut some of the consistency cards and just play more hand traps. Play more basically non-engine in the deck. You can go above 48 and play more non-engine. So it's very flexible in deck building as well. But this is the 5 I've chosen in this particular build. So that is the main deck. Moving to the extra deck, which is mostly dark because of Rocket Tracer, we have our main guys. 1 copy of Striker Dragon and 1 copy of Guard Dragon Elapisti as like our link ones, our main playmakers. Now, Striker Dragon is very good here because it has another effect, right? It has a second effect that is usually not used. You only use the Boot Sector effect, but here it has another one. It can pop a card on the field in order to add a rocket from graveyard to hand. So what you're going to do is you're going to have your Dark Destroyer on the field. You're going to use Striker Dragon to pop the Dark Destroyer in order to add back the Rocket Tracer from the graveyard that you're going to then summon. With the Boot Sector launch, it's going to be added off of Striker Dragon's first effect. You're going to get your Rocket Tracer by that on the field. Plus, you're going to trigger your Dark Destroyer in order to summon a Cosmo from deck. So, Striker Dragon in this deck is vital and another card that is crucial in order to make this deck basically be played, right? For the synergy between Rockets and Cosmos. Moving on, our Link 2s, we play the Dark Charmer. Dark Charmer is a basic utility link, but it's the best link I could find that's dark, that's generic enough, and has these arrow composition. This arrow composition is very important because you will soon see we are playing Pisty. So we do need some arrow composition, and the other very arrow important link is the Triburst Dragon, which we play because it's a link 3 that's dark, easily accessible, and points downward. Why is this important? Because you are first going to make dark. That way you can make Pisty, right, in one of this in this zone, because Dark points to it, and then you can use another Body and Dark in order to convert him to triple burst. At this point, you have 2 Link monsters who are pointing into the same zone. You can use the effect, get the Tracer back from the grave, and continue playing. So we mostly have these two here just as links that have, you know, useful arrows for us, but Dark is also like very, very nice in the extra deck. Anyway, part of the end board is the Borealand Dragon. Not just part of the end board, also a part of the extension, because once you get this, you can get back the Tracer and continue playing. So it also extends your place, so that is the part of the end board. Speaking of end boards, here comes our interesting end board part. Okay, we're gonna have Rocket Tracer at the end, and we are also going to have another level 4, Rocket Caliber. Now, this is a problem already because those are both tuners, right? So you can't really go into level 8 synchro, and we don't really want to because guess what? Savage is banned, right? And there is no really other very good options. But what these two are both dark level 4s. So what we can do is overlay them in order to make the Raider's Knight that we play in the extra deck. And then you will use Raider's Knight, detach one of them in order to rank him up into, guess what? Raid Raptor Brave Strix, and you will use its effect, detach another one in order to search the previously mentioned trap card, Glorious Bright, right? And with this, you're going to be able then to set the Glorious Bright face down. And what do we have like this? Out of 2 level 4s, we now control a Raid Raptor and we have Glorious Bright set. So that means that this now becomes an Omni Negate, because this just negates a face-up card if you control a Raid Raptor. And because this setup provides one, this is an Omni Negate, and this is an Omni Negate coming from the Spell and Trap card zone. So it can also negate Dark Lure No More and so on, right? So this, I feel like this was the best solution we had to our end board, because we are such a deck that we absolutely strive for a Omni Negate in the end board. We absolutely need it for the payoff, right? And this is, I think, I found the best way to play it. Yeah, you have to play 2 cards in the extra, you have to play 1 card in the main, but again, the payoff is a Spell and Trap card, Spell and Trap zone Omni Negate. So we do play 2 of these, but Raider's Knight also adds another very cute alternative, and that is the rank 4 big boy, Rebellion Arc, which is a going second prime meta, right? And you don't have to go through full combo in order to access Raider's Knight, right? It's just as easy as just resolving Tracer, right? Tracer, pop something, here comes Caliber, boom, overlay Raider's Knight, and you are at your big boy that, if the zone is full, this guy can OTK pretty easily, right? So the Raider's Knight also gives us flexibility of going first and going second extra deck options as well. So that's our Xyz at this point. Moving on, we do have another backup option, right? Because maybe you don't want to do Raider's Knight. Well, then you also have the option to go for Evil Swarm Nightmare. Another very strong option, 2 level 4 darks, just what we have, and it's 2 Book of Moons. So it's 2 Book of Moons for special summon monsters. So that might be an interruption you need, so it's there as an option, right? Continuing on, we do have our link lineup. Our link lineup is the IP Masquerena, and then the SP Little Knight that is on its way from Bonanza, but it can be Nightmare Unicorn, but now that it's reprinted, this is going to be SP. And then we also have other targets, which are the Goddess of the Closed World, because if you can get to IP Masquerena as an end board, there's just so many stuff on the field that, you know, is left, right? For instance, Brave Strix, once you use Brave Strix, once you use the trap card, Brave Strix is basically dead on the field, right? So you can link away with it. Borreload will use its negate and summon the Rocket Tracer from the graveyard during your opponent's turn as well, right? And you're gonna have your Rocket on the field there, again, doing nothing, and you can use it with IP, right? So IP just has so many ways to be useful. So if we can, we try to end on IP as well, right? Because it's just such an addition to the end board and easily can go into a Link 5 like Goddess. Then moving on, we also have access code. Clearly, access code is just here in order to mop up some Link material in order to go for games, right? Just generic. And the final 2 cards for me are these 2. Spheres and Romulus. Now, these 2 cards, Light and Wind, we cannot access them during the main combo, but there is so many ways things can go wrong in this deck, right? Especially because of your opponent's interactions with you. And in that case, you might need a plan B. And these are just your generic Dragon Link cards that this deck might go through if its plan A fails, right? This is a very simple to make end work piece. If you have to end on something, Romulus can get you to Dragon Ravine and extend through that if it's needed, right? These are plan B cards, but there's so much cards in this extra deck that don't have to be here, right? There are just so many flex spots that you can use whatever you want. These things basically are the most important ones, but there's just so many other ones in this extra deck as well. So you can tailor the extra deck just like the main deck up to your liking. So this is the deck. Now I am going to also show you the combo tutorial. What is the go-to combo for this deck? So now we're going to show the main combo for this deck. And the main combo for this deck consists of Rocket Tracer, or any way to get to it. You saw in the main deck there is a lot of them. And the Kozmo Town, and any way to get to it, or Kozmo Dark Destroyer. It's either one of these two. So you need these two cards. These two cards can be a variety of other cards, but this is kind of like the main thing we want to go for. So let's head into the combo. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to activate the Kozmo Town here. You are now going to shuffle back any bricks you might want to with its first effect, but that's not that important because now we normal summon the Rocket Tracer and use its effect. We pop the Kozmo Town in order to summon from our deck the Rocket Caliber here, right? This is going to be very important. And then Kozmo Town is going to search us our Dark Destroyer that we need for this combo. Now we're going to use the effect of Caliber that I already mentioned. You can tribute it in order to special summon Kozmo Dark Destroyer. And at this point, we already used the effect of Kozmo Dark Destroyer. When it's special summon or normal summon, you can target a monster on the field, destroy it. We're going to target itself, we're going to pop itself, then it's going to get banished, as we know, in order to special summon a Kozmo from our deck. And we're going to be summoning the Kozmo Strawman at this point. Okay, now we're here, we can immediately pay the 500 life points for Strawman in order to special summon back our Kozmo Dark Destroyer, right? Like this. Now we're going to link away the Rocket Tracer. We're going to go link 1. That is a level 4 lower dragon monster, or to make the Striker Dragon. At this point, we can use Striker Dragon's first effect. To our hand goes the Boot Sector Launch. Okay, that's very important. And now we're going to use Striker Dragon's second effect. We're going to target a monster on the field. Here's our Dark Destroyer. Destroy it, right? In order to add to our hand a rocket from the graveyard, we're going to add back the Tracer. At this point, Dark Destroyer triggers again, banishing it, in order to special summon from our deck another pilot. This time it's going to be Kozmo Sword Troopers, right? So this is the second time by using the rocket engine we have managed to pop Kozmo Dark Destroyer. That's the point of this deck. Okay, now we haven't used the Sword Trooper, but we already have used the Strawman. We would like to use Sword Trooper to summon the Strawman from the grave, so that's why we're going to link away Strawman and Striker Dragon here into a link 2. So we're going to link these away. These are two monsters, including a dark monster, and we're going to make dark, right? At this point, we are going to activate Boot Sector Launch from our hand, and that will enable us to special summon Rocket Tracer from our hand straight to the field, okay? We're going to immediately link away the Rocket Tracer, so that's going to be link 1, in order to make our Guard Dragon Pisty, as we said, in a zone Dark points to. At this point, we can pay 1000 life points courtesy of Kozmo Sword Trooper in order to bring from the graveyard our Kozmo Strawman. So Kozmo Strawman's back, and again here we can pay 500 more in order to bring back the Kozmo Dark Destroyer. Okay? This is the last time we're popping Kozmo Dark Destroyer because we do still want to keep some of our life points. Okay. Moving on here, we're going to use Dark and whichever you want. In this case, we can go a Sword Trooper here in order to make a Link 3. And this Link 3 is going to be our Triple Burst Dragon because it has a down arrow. Now, because of Pisty, two Link monsters, Pisty and Triple Burst, are pointing to the same zone. We can special summon back from our graveyard our Rocket Tracer. There it is. Okay. At this point, we're going to go into our first end board piece, and that is going to include Triple Burst, that's a Link 3. Guard Dragon Pisty, that's a Link 1, so that's 4. We need Strawman, that makes it 5. That's 3 plus effect monsters on a Link 5 monster, and you can guess what that is. That is going to be our Boroland Dragon. That is for some decks pretty difficult to out. Now we're going to use Boral Dragon's effect. We're going to negate Rocket Tracer here and special summon from our graveyard another rocket monster, and this time it will be Rocket Caliber. Okay? Here we now have 2 level 4 dark monsters which we can overlay in order to summon our Raider's Knight. Just like I said in the deck profile, we can now detach one of our rockets, preferably the one we want to special summon back with a Borland, in order to link up our Raider's Knight into our Brave Strix. Then use Brave Strix effect, detach again, in order to search us our trap. Okay? And at this point, we set our trap light. And that is the end of this simple demonstration combo. We pass turn to our opponent. In that, we're gonna have to actually resolve one more thing, and that will be in our end phase. The Sword Trooper effect is going to trigger, because we have to destroy it during the end phase because it was summoned off of Sword Trooper, right? So the Kozmo Dark Destroyer is gonna get destroyed here. We're gonna use its effect for the 3rd time now, and this time summoning Kozmo Dark Lady from the deck, okay? And now we actually pass to our opponent. What is our end board? Well, we have a Borland Dragon effect negation that is going to bring back another one of our rockets, for instance, Rocket Tracer here. We do have a Kozmo Dark Lady negate. Don't forget you can pay 1,000 life points in order to quick effect, negate the activation of a monster effect. And since we have a Raid Raptor on the field, our Glorious Bright is going to be able to be an Omni Negate. Negate any card on the field, right? So that is our 3 very simple interruption. 1 Omni Negate coming from the Spell and Trap card zone, and 2 Monster Negates, as well as a monster that is pretty tough to deal with sometimes. Because, don't forget, cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects. Also, neither player can target this card with monster effects, right? So that is quite important. It also has 3,500 attack. But as I said, if you can add an IP Masquerena to this board, you can still do a lot. Just a little bit of extra extension can also add the IP Masquerena to this end board. For instance, Light, Dark Dragon, Chaos Space, and so on. And with IP Masquerena, you have just so much link material, right? You're gonna have Brave Strix once it used its Glorious Bright. You're gonna have Kozmo Dark Lady once it used this effect. You're going to have Tracer that's gonna be special summoned back via Borland, all to use with IP Masquerena. And you could easily go into SP Little Knight, you could go into Underworld Goddess, and so on and so on. But this is basically how the deck plays. This is basically the janky synergy of Kozmos and Rockets that I wanted to show in this Future of the Jank video. Maybe next time we will take a deeper dive in the actual Dragon Link interaction with Kozmos, because this time we only focused on Rockets. But thank you guys for tuning into the new series, and don't forget to like and subscribe to see what we can cook up in the next episode of the Future of Jank.